Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's Comics from the Future. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So, Comics from the Future is the show where we go over all the comics that are new to order right now. You have between now and Saturday night to order these comics, and that guarantees if you place your order that when these arrive, you will get them.
Yes.
So that's kind of why we do the show. We get to explain all the new stuff. We get to show all the great variants and just kind of guarantee some people they get their orders in. So I'm happy to report
Every,
Marvel and DC are both on this week together.
everybody's on the same boat this time. We've been back and forth for, all this year basically so
I know.
far.
So this is sort of the first full week where you can order comics and everybody is present. And we definitely have some really cool ones. So let's start with our first segment, our featured comics segment. These are ones that we think sort of the most important ones that
Mhm.
people want to hear the most about. Start with that good foot forward.
Starting with kind of a biased favorite for
Ugh.
me. So you can have your Jokers and your Riddlers. My favorite Batman villain is Clayface. And so now they've been doing these Batman One Bad Days. We just got the Bane one that I really like this week. We are getting Clayface. So this is going to be by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing. They're kind of a new, they've done stuff for Marvel now, DC. They're really building up their portfolio. And the art is by XERMANICO, who did uh, Flashpoint Beyond.
So cool, he only needs one name.
When you have a name like
Yeah,
Zeramenko, I would
good
say
name.
so. So this is really cool. Of course, all these explore the villains and kind of a pivotal moment or story for them. And for this one, we have Clayface, Basil Carlo, who, if you don't aren't familiar about his when he's not Clayface or before he's Clayface, he was an actor. Kind of a some versions of him he was a failed actor, some of them he was a big actor, but this takes place post him becoming Clayface, but he always wanted to be like a superstar actor. Well, Clayface has decided he's going to leave Gotham and head to Los Angeles to continue pursuing his acting career. He takes on a new persona because he can shapeshift. So he's this new handsome actor in the city. But he finds that it's not quite as glamorous as he thought it would be. So what does the supervillain do? He is going to mold the city into something that wants him to be an actor there. So from the little bit I could tell, it was like, I don't have an agent. I guess I'm gonna make a mud agent.
Okay.
And so he starts slowly transforming until maybe it's like, is it worth it? Everyone around you is something of your own creation.
I was gonna say he starts just becoming his own fans,
Yeah,
his own fan club, everything.
yeah, and of course, Batman is involved in this. I won't give it away. I got to sample part of this issue. Very cool. If you're a fan of that, like, it's not set in old Hollywood, but kind of those old Hollywood, um, kind of tragedy stories. The fall from grace of a great actor. That is what this is. So, really excited about this one. Some great covers for this as well. So, this is our A cover.
And that's by, I think, the interior artist Zermenko did this
Yes.
cover.
Then we have this great Jim Lee one, which I like how the whole story, it almost looks like he put like a bat grenade in his mouth because like there's a light in the back of
I
Clayface's
seen
mouth.
that. Yeah, good
I
detail.
was really like picking this one over. This is probably one of my favorite Jim Lee ones so far.
And Clayface looks a little scared as it's happening too. You get
Yeah.
that sense.
And then we had the CAMUNCOLI variant they've been doing for kind of all of these.
All right. So the first Marvel series we will go over is Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain. So this series is by writer Tini Howard with art by Vasco Georgiev, who it's Vasco Georgiev's first work at Marvel.
Wow.
So sort of a
It's a big
established artist first work at Marvel. And what this is about is a lot has happened with Betsy Braddock ever since she kind of split from Psylocke. And Otherworld is kind of evened out. The House of Braddock is sort of all saved. Everything's good on that end. She has her brother, who is now Captain Avalon, who is with her by her side. So everything should be good. However, she decides to go back to Great Britain. And for some reason or another, people don't want her. I don't know why. The solicitation really doesn't say why they're like, get out of here, we don't need you. But that's sort of the reception she gets. So this a lot of this is supposed to explore where does she go from here? You know, what does Captain Britain do in a world that it kind of seems like doesn't want her or need her anymore? So that's the premise. The other interesting thing to this is there is some dispute over if this is an ongoing series or not. So I did a little deep dive into this, and because it feels like a mini series to
Yeah.
me. Well, on Instagram, the cover artist who's doing the covers for I think a bunch of them, and the interior artist said it's a 5-issue miniseries. Well, somebody asked Marvel through Twitter, and Marvel, official Marvel, said no, it is ongoing. So that's kind of
It seems
information
like
that
they
we
need to
get.
have a talk and figure out between
I know.
them.
So who to believe? Who to believe? I think you could believe me. I have a feeling this is a mini series. I'm gonna guess 5 issues. I'm still interested in it, but it means a lot to all of us to know,
Yeah.
how long are these things going? And I feel sometimes it's a little obscured.
Hmm.
Hopefully, it's not on purpose. Might be. Behind every bad decision is a greedy business person. So we're here to at least tell you probably a 5-issue
Yeah.
miniseries. I don't know why all the people working on it would think that if it wasn't. So that's the premise, and just a little extra info to that. Here is the Durso variant, and here is the Peach Momoko variant.
Feels a little bit like a continuation of Excalibur,
Right.
the previous run, but a little bit more of a jumping on point because it seems like it's kind of refining the cast to just Captain Britain
And it's
and
also
Captain
what is
Avalon.
next, because
Yeah,
all that Excalibur stuff, really did kind of get cleaned up.
yeah.
So
Okay, next up is a new book from Image called The Last Barbarian. So we've already had some people signing up for this. It's really cool. This is by Brian Haberlin and Gerard Van Dyke, and it is as you can tell from the cover, a fantasy series. But it sounds really interesting because it's like in this world of like high fantasy and giants and elves and magic. It'd be great to live there, right? Well, not actually, because we have a main character. Her name is Sylve. Is that what?
Sylve,
Sylve. Uh, and
SYLV.
Sylv. Yeah, no need for vowels. Um, and she's in this world, and she's a jack of all trades. She can, kind of be like a mercenary work. She's a pickpocket, but also she can do a little bit of magic. This is all great, but except for in this world, if you're not a member of a guild, then you're a nobody. Like, you can't get work. You got to be a member of some guild. And people don't want her because she is caretaking for her brother, who is a 7 foot tall giant, a disabled 7 foot tall giant who he has to care for, but also slows her down a little bit and kind of prevents her from keeping a normal job. But it seems like one day a sketchy cleric comes to her and offers her a chance to save the world. And so I'm guessing she's going to be hesitant, but take him up on that because that's a story. So very interesting. If you like this cover art, this is what the interior art looks like. I think the previous book that he did was it Hellgate?
I think I
Um,
recall that.
yeah, uh, they've done a few series that have this style. So if you like this digital painted style, Brian Haberlin's actually one of the original artists on Witchblade. He helped design a lot of Witchblade, so you can see some of that in this armor and everything. But sounds really cool. We've got a couple of variants, and I believe they're all by Haberlin. So this is the A cover. You have the B cover, kind of Red Sonja
That's
feeling.
great, and a little bit Boris
Vallejo,
Vallejo
yeah.
feeling to it as well. Yeah.
And then there is the C cover. And then they're doing a kind of a virgin cover of the A cover and of the B cover. And a sketch cover. A lot of covers for this one. Seems like they got high hopes for it.
Okay, next from DC is a new mini-series. It is Icon versus Hardware. Why can't we all just get along? Why do these heroes always have to fight? This premise is pretty good, though. So the premise is that Hardware discovers that the government secretly has a time machine locked up somewhere. So he breaks in and he uses it. He wants to go back in time and undo a lot of wrongs throughout history.
It's
right off the
noble.
I agree. Well, maybe because at the same time, look what you're doing. You're breaking the clock.
Yeah.
You're messing up time. So, who could possibly stop him? Well, it's Icon because Icon's been around for ages.
Hmm.
That's some of his history. Is he's back from like I forget what year he's back from, but I mean, he appeared right during like slavery times
Yeah,
in America. And so, whatever time that hardware goes to, Icon's there and starts to catch on, being like, hey, wait a minute,
that's interesting.
and realizes that he's going to mess up time with his good intentions. So, a very classic argument. Should you go back in time and kill Hitler or should you not?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's one of the things he does, but that's the classic argument. So that's the premise here. This is written by Reginald Hudlin and Leon Chills, which, by the way, awesome name,
That's
Leon
really cool.
Chills. Art is by Dennis Cohen. So that is the premise to Icon versus Hardware. Once again, a 5-issue miniseries. And here is the variant by Kanan White and Chris Sotomayor.
The next up, we have probably one of the most interesting titles for any X-Men book, the Immoral X-Men.
Naughty, naughty X-Men.
Of
Back.
course, Emma Frost is on the cover of that. But this is part of the Sins of Sinister storyline. And as we're getting solicitations for these and some of the books starting to come out, I'm slowly kind of piecing together what this story is. We heard originally it's kind of over a couple of timelines. So we've got like 10 years of the future, 100 years, and 1,000 years. Well, Immortal X-Men is 3 issues long, and each of them takes place in one of those time frames. So starting off, we have 10 years in the future, and surprise, everyone now loves the X-Men. Humanity that hated and feared them now love them. But what do the X-Men now have against humanity where they might want to destroy them? That's kind of what they tease. And then as we go forward, we're going to get stories set 100 years in the next one and then 1,000 years in the next one. So I'm guessing we're not going to get a whole lot of carryover characters. It looks like we're getting some new characters as it goes along. But also, it says in this one that Emma Frost basically is like, okay, I'm going to finally take out Mr. Sinister.
That's what I'm seeing on the cover here.
Yep, so very
That or
interested.
she's helping him pull a tooth that's just really bothered him for a long time.
So this sounds really interesting. I like this idea of the time jumps per issue and kind of what you do in the first one affects what happens in the last one. So if you're going to be on board for this Sins of Sinister storyline, I definitely think this is going to be a big one. This is going to be by Kieran Gillen and art by Paco Medina. We've got this awesome Mark Brooks variant where Emma Frost is doing her best frosty imitation of Mr. Sinister with that cape, and she's got the diamond on her forehead. Very cool.
So cold, but so hot.
And then we have the Phil Noto Planet of the Apes variant.
Don't do a staring contest with
No.
Cyclops. Just don't. You're gonna end up with unnecessary LASIK surgery.
And then there is this connecting Noto variant. If you notice, they also all have the sinister diamond on their
Yeah,
foreheads.
saying LASIK, I didn't mean this, but I now realize Professor X's helmet looks like the thing that eye doctors put
Oh
over
yeah,
your eyes when they're testing your eyes.
it's all coming together.
That had to have been a little bit of where that came from. Okay, so next up is a new one called Torrent. This is going to be an ongoing image series by Mark Guggenheim with art by Justin Greenwood. They're the team from Resurrection.
Hmm.
They did the comic Resurrection together. And so this not only is a new comic, it's supposed to be a new superhero universe. Always a little bit ballsy for a team to go, hey, we're going to create a whole new universe. That means a lot of characters.
Well,
Is what that
Guggenheim was
means.
one of the showrunners of Arrow, so he does have some like world building pedigree.
I say. So what this, and you have to have your focal character. So your focal character, who we see here, her name is Cracker Jack, and she's sort of a happy-go-lucky hero for this world. That's how she's known. Maybe like wise, cracking like Spider-Man. Well, also like Spider-Man, something very tragic happens, and it's going to turn her from a regular hero into a vigilante. And I think that they're kind of I guess hinting at that with the blood around the mouth,
Yeah.
just the expression. So if you're looking towards reading a new sort of superhero universe that some indie writers get to control, they can decide it, people live and die,
Mhm.
what the heroes are, what their powers are. That can be really fun sometimes. That's what this new number one is all about. And here is the variant cover for that. It's by Greenwood and Renzi, who are the same people who did the A cover, and of course Greenwood's doing the interiors.
Next up, we have our next installment of the Lazarus Planet one-shots. This is Lazarus Planet Dark Fate #1. This is another one. I feel like they're doing a good job. They each of these have kind of if you're looking for a good story, they've got that. If you're looking for first appearance of characters, it's got that as well. So in this one, we're actually looking at the creation of a of new villains in the kind of new DC universe with the Lazarus resin. So, like all of them, it's an anthology style story spotlighting different characters. We've got writers like Tim Seeley and Joshua Williamson working on it. And the characters that we are spotlighting are starting off, we have a Doom Patrol
I
story.
see them in the bottom right there.
Yes. There is a new Doom Patrol series starting fairly soon, and I think it's by the same creative team, or it's kind of connected to that a little bit. Uh, so I got to see a preview of this, so I know all the new characters are in it, but I know they haven't like publicly told them, so I'm not going to say a lot of their names if they haven't said it. But there's some really fun, crazy characters that are going to be popping up in Doom Patrol. One villain in particular that you'll have to see. If you're a fan of Chainsaw Man, there is a pretty funny kind of version of that. Then we are getting a. It seems like we're getting a new Flash, but you'll have to read to find out because there's the Speed Force and the Still Force, and I do believe they have teased this new character. Who is a character called Circuit Breaker that is a first appearance in this. And then we also have a story about Huntress and returning to the Arkham Tower. And what happens when some of the Lazarus resin rain starts seeping in to Arkham Tower? Well, how does that affect the inmates? And it's going to be
It's going to
Huntress.
make them peaceful and
Yeah,
rehabilitated.
we've seen how well that's gone before. So I think there's even more because it does tease there's a new character named Xanth that I did not see in it. So I think even the sample I got to read didn't have all of the stories in it. So really cool if you are looking for some new characters to jump on board with, some new villains. This will be great. This is our A cover. Then we have our B cover. This is by uh, Barro Nuevo,
I kind of like this. Just something scary coming out of a stone egg.
and it looks like a doomsday
Spiky,
egg.
spiky doomsday stone egg. Yeah.
And the hands look like doomsday. Well, once again, like
Right.
that character did not appear in a story I read, so I'm guessing there's more to all of this than even they're letting us
I'm
know.
not surprised. There were so many creator names on that A cover.
Yeah. Then we have the this is the painting cover, I believe, or this is the Mustafa cover with Ventress. And then we have the Haining cover. And I think that Xanth, the new character, which I did not read in that story, so I think this one they're kind of holding back and so everybody can be surprised.
I was wondering. I was like, I don't really recognize this character in
Yeah.
this huge sword.
It's even cool when they put brand new characters on the covers. So you can tell like this is a new initiative. Here's all your new
And I
characters.
mean, I have to say, it looks fairly manga inspired. At
Yeah.
least this depiction of this
I really
character.
like the sword. That's a very cool Final Fantasy style sword.
Okay, so another new miniseries we want to tell you about. It is from Dark Horse Comics. It's a 5-issue miniseries called Blue Book, and it's by James Tynion with art by Michael Owen and Claus Jansen. So that's parts of that are the team that brought you Something's Killing the Children. So many good things
Hmm.
between the three of them. This is interesting because this new miniseries they're saying is a non-fiction comic about people's UFO abductions. So I don't know if Tynan has interviewed people or if it's just stories he's
So
read.
much of this I feel like is he was working at Department of Truth and he found like a rabbit hole. And he's like, there are so many stories that I
Yeah,
need to tell.
I kind of know what you mean. Like he was taking inspiration. He's like, some of the stories people I've read or talked to were so good. They just need their own
Yeah.
spotlight. They don't need me inspired by them. I'm just going to tell them. So that's what this is. I think there'll be a little more to this than just UFO abductions. Looking into it more, they also kind of said it's going to be a lot of ordinary people encountering the strange and unnatural. So I do think while the majority is going to be alien abduction, I think there'll be some other things in it as well. So this is our regular cover by Omin. Here is the Johnson variant. It's good. I
It's
like
not,
that.
but it not like kind of makes it look like he's got like a goatee,
I
like
was
a
thinking like a
metalhead.
tongue, like
He's gonna lick up that
licking up the
car.
car. Here is the Thompson variant, and then the Boss variant.
That was pretty boss.
Yeah. So if you like sci-fi and just the idea, it's nonfiction. It's from somebody's story rather than, completely just
I think that's a
invented by
super
the
cool
writer.
idea.
It might have been invented by the person who told the story,
Yeah.
but not by the writer purely.
Okay, now we're definitely down my alley. We are getting a new Masters Universe series. It's going to be a mini series, 4 issues, called Master Universe Masterverse. It's also a toy line that's been coming out right now, where it's if you're familiar with the old trope of the multiverse, you're getting that in the
I
Masters
was gonna say so
Universe.
many muscly dudes on the cover.
So this one is going to be a it's the anthology style, but that has like bookends. So what it's about is let's see, it is Zodak, your character in the middle there. He's kind of a almost like a Silver Surfer, Green Lantern type character, and he's going to be showing Sorceress the multiverse of different versions of He-Man and the characters. So it's going to have a framing story by Tim Seeley and Eddie Nunez. But in this first issue, we're getting 2 stories, and I kind of feel like each of these issues is going to have 2 stories. The first one is Sergio Aragonés is doing a story about a universe where He-Man is a blundering barbarian being chased by a giant green cat, which I'm guessing is Battle Cat.
Right.
So they are going like, pretty crazy with these stories. And then the second one is by Kelly Jones, and it's supposed to be a Master Universe ghost story. So I think this sounds super cool. I love the different styles being interjected in here, the different versions of He-Man. You can get your more traditional barbaric, and you can get your kind of fun, whimsical versions. It's gonna be really cool, and we've got a couple of variants by your interior artists. So starting off, we have the Kelly Jones cover, and then we have the Aragones variant with Sorceress and Skeletor playing chess with all of the characters.
So the Dark Horse, are they going to be doing all the Masters of the Universe stuff moving forward?
I believe so. I believe they're the current and for a while owners of the
Of the
Master
property.
Universe property.
Okay. So our last featured comic is Liquid Kill. This is another new one from new publisher Whatnot Comics. This is written by Max Hoven and Aaron Crow with art by Gabriel Ivanazark. And so what the premise of this is there's this group of female mercenaries called Liquid Kill, and they are known to be very violent, very brutal. So when I was reading about this, I'm like, oh, they sound like the bad guys. No, I think they're the good guys. So Liquid Kill,
Sounds like a
this
90s comic.
all-female mercenary group, they storm this sort of rich person's mysterious island. This island of rich pleasures. And the reason they do that is their leader has been captured, and they think the leader's there. So they're going to try to figure that out through uh, through attacking and torture and all the things you expect in a high action, high octane comic. But it says that unfortunately they're going to end up unleashing something that they were not prepared for, possibly a monster. So
Hmm.
that is the premise to Liquid Kill. We got some pretty cool covers though. Like premise sounds good. I won't know until I read it. Covers I'm more excited about. So here is the Muizark variant, who's interior artist. Here is the David Mack variant, who's been doing some work for Whatnot
Mhm.
lately. Here is the Roars variant. A lot to take in
Yeah,
there.
I think you can see a lot of those assassin characters around there.
Hmm. But check this one out. This is the Canon video game homage variant. So how many of you out there right away are like, I know what this is an homage
Yeah.
of? Yeah, so this is an homage of that Metal Gear style art by by Yoji Shinkawa.
Mm.
So
Even the logo and the PlayStation logo is like a W and an N like the classic PlayStation logo.
Yeah, so this one out of all of them is probably going to be a pretty hot one. And then right before we made this video, we got an email from Whatnot with another update. Here's another cover that is open order. I love how we have from today till Saturday night to order these. I mean, technically we stores have until like Monday night, but we got to get in our orders,
Yeah.
to get them together. So the other, here's the last cover for this. This is the Braille variant, which this is an homage to a very famous DMX cover.
Wow.
So another one not to miss out on because, music and comics,
Yeah.
sometime when they collide, people find out late and they all come running. Where's my Jack White cover?
Yeah, or the all the hip hop variants for Marvel.
Or Spider-Man meeting Eminem. So I doubt it'll be as busy or as big as that. You know what? That wasn't the DMX one. I'm sorry. This is the Gungji variant. This is the Brow DMX homage variant. Got things a little mixed up because we added them in like literally last second. But a great cover in and of itself. But this is the one that was just announced. This is the Brow DMX variant.
And
Homage
Junji,
variant.
he just passed away right before San Diego Comic-Con
You're
this
right.
last year. So I think this is one of his final covers, this last one.
So that would have been this
Yeah,
one.
that I think that's one of his last covers. So
Right.
if you're a collector, I think that's gonna be a really cool one.
Okay, on to our next segment, cool covers and other comics. Yeah, we just showed a bunch of cool covers, but those were feature comics, most of them number ones. This is just going to be really good variants of ongoing series. And as far as other comics, we're going to show you some issue number 2s and 3s of series that have just begun to just remind you you might want to sign up for it. Get yourself on the list to be guaranteed that you'll get these issues. Starting with
Punisher War Journal. And Punisher War Journal is not technically, it's a number one, but they're doing a bunch of number ones. So if you're reading the current Punisher run, these kind of fit in between. So this one is by Grönbeck, who is your Thor writer right now. And this is a one shot about the time between Punisher being in the war and coming home, where that kind of it feels very real of that like he can't quite leave it behind, and what does this mean of him for the future and becoming Punisher and where he is now. So these are really fun little bonus stories they do. This is our A cover for that.
I like even in his off time, he's still with the branding. He's like, I'm
Yeah.
trying to relax, but I still got to keep my branding going.
And then we have the variant cover. This is the Romero variant.
All right. So another one by Grönbeck is Thor issue number 31. So this is going to be the regular cover for this. This is sort of this is the beginning of a new arc. Okay, so I guess the Black Winter arc will have been over by the time this comes out because that's still going on. But Grönbeck sort of got put on Thor as Kate's left. So this is sort of his first original tale. That's not him telling the tale Kate started.
Yeah.
And in this, um, the gates of Valhalla have been broken into. Okay, they're broken. Valhalla is just open. That is not good for everybody who won their way in. That's not fair. So it's up to Thor, Odin, and Jane Foster to figure out who has done this dastardly deed. That is the premise for Thor issue 31. And here is the Azrael sort of classic homage variant.
Classic homage to First Beta Ray Bill.
That's right. That's right. Here is the Bradshaw Planet of the Apes variant. What did the apes think about Monier?
It's funny with the Planet of the Apes. It's like when they're up against humans, you're like, uh-oh. But then everyone, the Marvel ones, is like, these apes are gonna lose. You're not gonna survive Cyclops or Thor.
And then here is the Peach Momoko variant.
So yeah, it's very interesting with those. I saw a tweet by Ryan Otley, who was also on. He was on Hulk, and he said basically they're issues that they are kind of filling in after
Kate's the
Kate's
Punisher.
left. He was like, they told us not to do any of the main story, so that's why you got the Hulk God Ball story, and why you've had some kind of little things in Thor. I feel like now these writers and artists are moving forward with their own
With their
ideas. So
own.
that's why I feel like if you fell off of Thor, maybe try this one coming back in.
I liked Grönbeck stuff so far.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so next up is it does have a number one, but this is actually just a one shot. This is Betty, the Final Girl from Archie Comics, or the Chilling Adventures subheading of Archie Comics, which are always really fun. So in this one shot, Veronica takes Betty to her father's uh, ski lodge in the mountains, but Archie comes by and takes Veronica on a romantic getaway skiing and everything, and that leaves Betty there by herself. Or is she actually by herself? This is a mix of, it says equal parts Scream and When a Stranger Calls, but with your Archie characters.
Yeah, I
Uh,
see that shape in the mist back
yeah,
there.
and it's kind of like, is Betty just imagining these things, or is there really someone there? These are all really fun, all the way back to uh, the Archie zombies and
Archie versus Predator.
Archie vs. Predator. I love how these characters can be put in different scenarios, and it's kind of fun to see how they react to it. This one sounds really fun. So this is our A cover for that, and then there is the B cover by Hutchinson.
All right, so here's another number one ongoing series from Vault. It is called Godfell. And the title of this very accurately describes what it's supposed to be about. So before I tell you the premise, it is by writer Christopher Sabella with art by Ben Hennessy, who is one of the artists who did this cover here. And so the premise is it's a land called Carathin. Okay, so it's some medievalish magic world. Well, one day a god falls and lands dead in the middle of their world. And this god is apparently huge. Okay. Well, all the different countries go, hey, let's go explore that body and let's see what we can get and let's see what's going on with this thing. So they launch into it. This is going to follow one character I think we're seeing on the cover here, who is a soldier and a berserker character who decides that they're going to make their way to the body to see what they can discover. And the only other thing it says is they come across a mysterious companion. They acquire a mysterious companion. So that is what I know of the premise for Godfell. So here's the main cover, and then here is the Gooden variant. So if you like your medieval stuff, but with a side of
We only find them when they're dead.
yeah, that's good. Then maybe this will be for you.
Okay, this is really interesting. So this is a book that came out before. Little Red Ronin is a kind of anime style, Japan style version of Little Red Riding Hood that came out a couple months ago. They're actually putting out this edition called the Ronin edition. I feel like this is really cool for people who, I know a lot of people read that really liked it and just like something different. So they're actually reformatting that original book. It now reads in manga style from back to front, and it's the size of a manga now, and it's fully translated into Japanese. So it's really cool. This cover gives me a very like Shonen Jump vibe. So if you're looking for something like kind of if you read that main series and you want a little bonus, I think this is really cool. Or if you're studying your Japanese and you want to try and figure out how to read it, there you go too. But just the one cover for this special.
Or if you want to annoy your friends and be like, hey, go read this. Okay, so next up, this is the Basil Dua Stormbreakers variant for Amazing Spider-Man number 20. So just want you to know about all the cool variants. And no, it's not Godzilla or King Kong climbing up or destroying a building. It's Spider-Man this time. Then here is the Lupacino Planet of the Apes variant for that same issue, Amazing Spider-Man 20. And in this issue, interesting enough, they have a guest team doing this issue. It's writer Joe Kelly and the art's by Terry Dotson.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And the story, it's actually going to be Peter Parker and Felicia Hardy Black Cat. They're off. It looked like it's some Arctic land on the
Yeah.
main cover, and somebody's trying to kill them. Go figure. So it's a Spider-Man and Black Cat issue.
Then next up we have Deadpool number 4. I've got some variants for this, and you can tell all the Stormbreakers are doing the either a giant character or a tiny character. This one, I like how Wolverine and his variant from a week ago was fighting rats. Now Deadpool is riding a pigeon fighting rats. I feel like there's a whole story here. But this is the Klein variant for Deadpool number 4. Apparently, in this one, he's made Lady Deathstrike really mad, so not a good thing to do. We also have another variant, the Planet of the Apes Macone
I think they're
variant,
all just studying him.
which
You see?
I think that would be like a really good one shot is Deadpool and Planet of the Apes. It'd just be goofy. Bring Hitmonkey in there.
Okay, so this is the main cover for She-Hulk number 10. I really like this cover a lot. I mean, it's going to be hard to miss it with the colorfulness,
Yes.
but seeing Jen in her lawyer form back to back with her She-Hulk form, it's cool to just see sort of like this is the size
Yeah.
difference. This is how much bigger you get or how much smaller you are in your regular form. So this issue it's claiming a lot. It says that this issue might be the straw that breaks her back. It claims to be the most intense issue of She-Hulk. That is what the solicitation says.
Wow.
You know, I like to think I've learned a few things reading comics, and I take that with a grain of salt, but I've got to report it. That's what they're saying. Most intense issue of She-Hulk right here. At least has a good cover, in
Yeah.
case you are piqued by that
The variant cover is really
hyperbole.
good too.
Yes, here is the Talaski variant.
I just like she's trying to do her laundry and she's like, "Oh, I've ripped out of everything."
Yep,
That's pretty great.
that is really good.
Next up, we got a whole batch of Star Wars books for you, starting off with Dr. Aphra, number 29. This is actually the A cover, still dealing with the Spark Eternal that's attached to Aphra. You see she's got her two droids back, fan favorite
And
droids.
they all have red eyes now.
Yep.
They're finally a family.
So this is our A cover. Then we have our Manahini Black History Month variant with Sana Staros. Very cool. And then we have the Lucasfilm Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary cover with Luke versus the Rancor. Then we have this. This is Yoda issue number 4, and this kicks off kind of the next story arc in Yoda. And this is very exciting because it is Yoda teamed up with Dooku back when he was still a Jedi before he left the Jedi Order and became a Sith. So we're gonna get some cool team up in this one with those two. So this is our A cover for that. Then we have our Manahini Black History Month variant with Mace Windu. And then we have our Stott variant.
Okay, this is the Inhyuk variant, Batman Incorporated issue number 5. This is going to be the end of the first story arc, which is going to have Ghostmaker going up against his former pupil, Phantom One. They're going to have a fight to the death as the team's allegiance is sort of split between them. So everything is like coming to a boil in the 5th issue of Batman Incorporated. The last issue of the arc, again, Inhyuk variant.
Then we have the Dan Mora variant for Batgirls number 15. It's a really nice, another very standout cover. You'll be able to see that from across the room. And this one is really cool. The last one was the all silent issue where Cassandra Cain was looking for Stephanie Brown. And this one, their hunt is still on, and it has something to do with Stephanie's father, the Clue Master. So pretty
All
cool.
right, this is the Daniel Warren Johnson variant for Batman The Adventures Continue, Season 3, Issue number 2. So, pretty cool showing, like,
The inside of the like machinations of the
right,
Batmobile.
what's underneath all that armor. So, and I like the Batmobile he chose too, because there's so many different ones.
Yeah.
I've always liked the really long one that kind of resembles a tricked out coffin or something.
Yeah.
Anyhow, in this issue, this sounds pretty interesting because an old fling of Harley's, and she happens to be an old high school crush of Bruce Wayne's, comes back to Gotham. So,
Mhm.
not a lot of things that typically connect Bruce Wayne and Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
But this time, this character does. She was Bruce's sweetheart or, his crush in high school. And then she ended up being Harley's college fling. She comes back and she immediately goes back after Bruce. And Harley here, she's in town and she wants to, see if she can rekindle something too. So there might be some I don't know, a bit of violence between Bruce and Harley this issue. So I'm kind of interested in that premise.
Next up, we have Superman Space Age number 3. I believe this is the final issue of Superman Space Age. And we have this awesome Joe Quinones cover. I just love seeing the like very like humanized, down to earth Superman. was in a photo booth, took some pictures, and giving them to this kid. So pretty cool.
All right, here is the Tulaski variant to Wildcats #4. And in this issue, Grifter, who we see on the cover here, killing.
And he is relaxed.
Yep. So Grifter is still looking for the Court of Owls. So that's what's going on in Wildcats #4.
Then moving over to some indie stuff, we have Nemesis Reloaded #2. This is the Mark Miller and Jorge Jimenez series that just started, following up on the from years ago Nemesis series. I really like the first issue of this, but if you are squeamish, definitely not for you because this is a rough book. But I'm looking forward to this issue #2, and we've got just a couple of covers for this. So this is the A cover. Then we have these kind of like black and white, but they still have a splash of color. Then we have the Matteo Scalera variant. And then they're also doing, which we need this around here, this is the second printing of issue #1. We sold out of this very fast, so second printing of #1 if you missed it.
Here is the main cover to Nightclub #3. This is a new comic by Mark Miller with art by Juanan Ramirez. It's about a bunch of teens who get to be vampires and how are they going to use their powers. But past that and it being a Miller book, a lot of people have been picking it up because it's $1.99. He promised every issue of this, and it's ongoing, would stay $1.99. So let's see how long we can keep the series going, and it can be like we're buying comics back in like the year 2000 or something. So there's the main cover, and then there's a black and white variant for issue #3 as well.
Then we have issue 7 of 8 Billion Genies. So this is the penultimate issue. And in this one, we are 8 decades later. And they say it's a heartbreaking issue. And you can imagine because, we started with, kids in the first one. Well, this is 80 years later. Like they are grown, and
How many wishes can be left?
that's what's so interesting every one of these because the time jumps. How has the idea of the wish changed from the beginning? Now what do people who have wishes, what are they thought of, and what kind of commodity is that?
I hope last issue, the last wishes, and I wish it would all just not have happened. And
I wish this was all a dream.
oh no, Super Mario 2 it.
So this is our A cover for that, and then we have the CAMUNCOLI variant.
And
Oh, and
yeah.
we are not done with the Spawn covers. They are still a couple trickling in, and we have this Spawn. I don't know if it's Spawn month cover, but it's the mashup of Spawn and
Am I
Billy
crazy or
Jean's.
does Spawn look like surprised that that genie is there?
He didn't know he was about to get that wish or
Yeah.
get it. And I love how it even looks like him, like how they've all looked like the characters. But like, I want to read that book. I want to see, Spawn teamed up with his little genie.
All right, so this is I Hate Fairyland issue #4. This is the main cover by Scotty Young. We did not do the sensory on this. That's how it just is, because Scotty Young is hilarious. So this has been a great series. This is more of Gert as she is stuck in Inferno while she's trying to find a way back into Fairyland so she can complete her job. Here is the interior artist Sean Bean's variant, and then here is the Peach Momoko variant for I Hate Fairyland.
It is funny that you keep calling him Sean Bean. I think his last name is Bean, but I don't remember his first name. But Sean Bean is like the actor, like Boromir and
Thought
Double
that
Six.
was his first name.
No, but every time I think of that, I think of Sean Bean like in full Boromir drawing.
Okay. So, on to our last segment, other printings and graphic novels.
Starting off with a very cool facsimile, I think one a lot of people will be picking up, the first appearance of Punisher. So if you want a exact replica of the first appearance of Punisher in Amazing Spider-Man, this is for you.
And then another second printing, this time from DC. It's Batman 131. Is going back to second print with a really cool Jorge Jimenez cover. This, of course, is the brand new story arc that has Batman sort of in a multiverse world, multiverse Gotham, which seems to be missing a Batman.
And then we have, this is called Batman Spawn Unplugged. This is a really interesting one. So they're re-releasing Batman Spawn, but this time I believe it is colorless and letterless. This is just like the straight art pages. So if you want to see how the sausage is made, this will be a good one.
All right, so how about a different trade? It is Do a Power Bomb is coming out in trade paperback form. This is going to be 24.99. This, of course, is by Daniel Warren Johnson, who, as you can tell, this is an over-the-top wrestling comic by an over-the-top artist who's perfect for it.
Yep.
So if you missed that or you want to get it collected, here is your chance for 24.99.
I know some people who put that as their favorite indie series of the year. Very cool. Next up is Immortal Hulk Omnibus. So this one, if anything, is should be read as one big whole. It's Immortal Hulk by Al Ewing. I believe this is let's see, this is $150. This is our main cover, and then we have our Alex Ross other edition.
Right, next up, it is Spider-Man Blue, is what I'm going to call it. So just as Spider-Man, but
Yeah.
this is a collection of Spider-Man Blue 1 through 6 by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. This, of course, is the story of how Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy fell in love. A very, very tragically
Mhm.
ending love, as I think everybody in the whole world knows. Great story, though. This is the gallery edition hardcover of it. It's going to be $50. It's 168 pages. And then there is a direct market variant cover for it as well, if you
Mhm.
prefer this one.
And then we have Marvel Zombies Omnibus. This is cool because it collects so much. It collects all of the like Marvel Zombies went through like 1 through 4, like 4 volumes that were called Marvel Zombies, each made up of like 4 to 6 issues, plus one shots. Their first appearance in Ultimate
Ultimate
Fantastic
Fantastic Four.
Four, their appearances in Black Panther. This just collects anything that's Marvel Zombies. So if you've never read it, it's really good. Some early Robert Kirkman zombie stuff. This is our main cover, and then we have our direct market edition as well.
All right, and that is our show for this week. So again, a reminder, if you order through us, you have until Saturday night to tell us which of these you want. If you order through another store, I'm sure they would love to know, the sooner the better. That's why we do this show. This guarantees you'll get these comics if you order them ahead of time. It is the smart way to order,
Hmm.
trust me. Otherwise, if you wait for it to be out on the shelf, you might be out of luck. It might be sold out. So thank you very much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscriber button. We do appreciate that. That way you won't miss our future shows. We'll be back on Monday where we review new comics early. So on Monday we'll be reviewing the comics that come out in stores on Wednesday,
Yeah.
giving you a heads up on what's in them. So swing back around and we will see you then.